you ready for the craziest answer in the world? It's through not seeing them as a demon. Yeah, it's the essence of non-duality. Non-duality in its totality is the summation of non-dualistic consciousness plus dualistic consciousness. The best way to bridge that gap is to understand something called subject-object duality, meaning if you are watching me and I'm watching you, there's not really a separation between us at the deepest cosmic level. Yes, we're differentiated beings, but some aspect of us belongs in one another. This is because of the Hindu cosmology's understanding of functions of a universe: creation, preservation, and destruction. And I've always said there's three universes: that universe out there, the universe here, and the universe of our bodies. So we have the function of creation, preservation, destruction here. So if you and I are watching each other and you're preserving and I'm preserving both of each other, we are preserving each other in one another's universes. In that sense, we are one at a very, very deep layer. I also have this video where I briefly talked about how the unconscious mind, if we apply the metaphor of planet Earth being our bodies, then your unconscious mind is like an exosphere. So when I think about entity attachments, the way the natural visualization comes is a person walking, going about their day, not worried really too much about anything, but there's something behind them stretched out and extending, and it's like really Shinigami, like Death Note-y type of vibe, right? It's connected to them, because that's the idea. This doesn't happen without our consent. So we need to see where we apply consent for these things to take place. Non-dualistic thinking will also invite us to really, if we want to do pratyahara, a withdrawal of the senses, and we want to withdraw the senses of the mind, we have to withdraw the things that have been taught to us. Namely, looking at everything in terms of oppressor versus oppressed. Now, we're part of the animal kingdom, so there's the whole idea of predator versus prey relationships all the time. But something interesting happens, right? I think there's something in sales called identity framing, where when you're trying to convey something to get your customer to like sign on, you will frame their identity as the thing you want them to be in order to buy that thing. So how can we apply this with non-dualistic thinking to exit out of predator-prey, exit out of oppressor versus oppressed, right? If there's somebody that you perceive to be a threat in front of you, you subconsciously will behave a little bit like shy and afraid. Maybe you don't behave externally that way, you feel that way on the inside, but outside you're more reactive. So that person is going to kind of like a magnet take on the opposite end of the polarity and maybe even feed into that, because the cosmos operate in infinite efficiency. So whatever is going to magnetize that moment in the highest efficiency is what both roles will take on. I am speaking from experience when I say, after integrating what I perceive to be an enemy archetype, there's this amazing, like, these are not the droids you are looking for type of Jedi mind trick where you feel like you're literally manipulating the field of consciousness when you don't perceive yourself to be a prey, a victim, or oppressed. That person won't see it either. Now, of course, there's a nuance here that people need to be willing to budge. This is also not an invitation to just go up to anybody that you know will do horrible things to you and say, hey, you know, I'm non-dualistic now, ha ha ha. I need to add the nuance too, that this isn't an invitation for you to behave like you should control other people, that you're legitimately better than them. The idea is that we see every single thing as an aspect of Shiva, as an aspect of infinity, as an aspect of the divine, of God. One of my previous TikToks, I brought up the example of when you're installing a software update and there's a setup wizard and there's a checkbox agreeing to the terms and conditions. In the previous video where I talk about the exospheres of the mind, right, because that's like we're leaving Earth and we're entering everything that's not Earth. So that's like that really nuanced permeable membrane of that in-between. So in that in-between, if we are not aware, we will hit accept and allow entities to come and become attached to us. Awareness can't be passive. Awareness is fundamental to the universe. Yes, this material universe, but to every single universe. For example, there was a self-defense class workshop our martial arts school was doing, and the national head instructor told us that awareness is the key. Awareness is, once again, I'm hitting that infinite cosmic efficiency aspect. Awareness will help you every single time. You don't have to actually actively fight an enemy if there was never one to begin with, because you became aware, right? So every universe has awareness as fundamental, and it is the most efficient approach. So, for example, I used to have lots of sleep paralysis demons. A couple years ago, they just sort of stopped altogether, but they were going on for like a solid 5, 6 years. And the final time, I knew deep down, and this was like kind of the beginning of, leaving DPDR and existential hyper awareness OCD, and then coming into spiritual awakening with Shiva. I knew that I had more power than I was told. I became aware that this was something attached to me. I also became aware of the fact I was afraid. Then I next become aware of the fact that that thing must be making me afraid, which then makes me aware that they feel the need to make me afraid, which then makes me aware that there's something lacking in them, which then makes me aware I can end the situation by trying to figure out what that thing needs. So I was able to communicate with this thing. And I don't know if you guys know what it's like to go through sleep. It's horrible. Like, the pain is very palpable and real. Your nerves feel like they're being squished, and you feel like you're being eaten alive, and everything hurts. I mean, it's tantalizing and overstimulating like hell. This thing stopped, looked at me, and that was the first time I was able to do that with a sleep paralysis demon, but it kept its feed going. So eventually I had to like really push to like get it out of me in the dream, and then by the time I actually woke up in real life, I realized my hands were like pushing actively and I was fighting, and that's when I knew I could control my reality a hell of a lot more. By the time there's an entity attached to you, there were like several hundreds, thousands of steps even of consent happening. And I want to be clear here, right? Consent doesn't mean you want that thing. Consent is acceptance, and it can be in a dissociated way, unconscious way. We have accepted things in our lives we haven't wanted before, right? So that's the idea. So there's so many steps taken of consenting unconsciously, to the point where you've just opened up your unconscious mind to allowing that thing to connect with you, call it in, because now you resonate with that thing's frequency. Subject object duality is an illusion, right? You resonated with that thing's frequency. But here's the thing. If you can do it for that, you can also do it for the opposite. Here is Bro. Bro is not sitting here passively. He's meditating and aware, therefore equally connected to every possibility in the universe, and deeply sensually alive with all of it. Having Shiva connected to me allows me to actually behave like Shakti and help this aspect of Shiva realize an aspect of himself through my lived experience. Remembering that I am him helps me understand how I can have total sovereignty. At the most advanced level, that's how it is. Shiva promotes full-blown sovereignty, to the point where you understand that you and the cosmos are one, and you have that control and power, and the best thing to do is align your will with the divine will. And I would even go as far as saying that siddhis, those supernatural powers, those are also when subject-object duality collapses. Whatever you think you're connecting to with that power is just you and that power not having any difference between each other, because you've seen each other as one. It's also why you will hear things about monks when they come across like tigers or vicious animals, and they're able to say, okay, calm down. And then that thing does calm down and it goes away, because it would have attacked you if it was coming from a place of disconnection, if it saw you as a differentiated being. But in that moment, it saw you as one with itself, connected in love. When you collapse the demons versus angels thing, you collapse the game. When you stop seeing yourself as an oppressor or someone who can be oppressed, you collapse the game. The only question left to ask is, what part of you is still playing that you don't realize?